to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best two ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Tuesday Live right here on the Early Line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Joe Ranieri. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern Time. A huge Tuesday after a monumental Monday in the sports landscape with a ton of focus on the greater New York area. In the tri-state, what a night it was for 3 teams, all with incredibly significant games. Monday Night Football at MetLife, maybe the most important Week 6 conclusion we have ever seen on a Monday night in the NFL. The Jets and the Bills in East Rutherford. And once again, New York, that would be gangrene, and Aaron Rodgers comes up short. We'll talk about the Mets and the Yankees, both in action yesterday. The Amazons out in Los Angeles at the Ravine against the Dodgers in Game 2 of the NLCS with some day baseball. The New York Yankees starting off the American League Championship Series up in the Bronx at home against the Cleveland Guardians. So much to get into here, Joe Ranieri, on this Tuesday on the Early Line.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it until last night, Ben, just how involved New York fans are here over the next couple of weeks. Let's not forget the Liberty also playing for a championship. So a lot of New York love going on right now.
A lot of New York love. The Liberty and the Lynx tied at a game apiece in the best-of-5 WNBA Finals. But let's go to Monday Night Football at MetLife. A huge, huge game, Joe. Not just on the football field, but because of everything that has happened for the New York Jets in the past week. The firing of Robert Saleh, the demotion of Nathaniel Hackett, the elevation of Todd Downing now calling plays. Jeff Ulbrich, his first game as the interim head coach for the Jets. And, of course, all of the onus and attention on Aaron Rodgers for a variety of reasons last night. Maybe you can point at the officiating on both sides, perhaps to involve 22 total penalties for more than 200 yards combined between the two clubs. Maybe you can point to the windy conditions in East Rutherford and a terrible night for both field goal kickers. Tyler Bass of Buffalo, even worse for Greg Zuerlein and the New York Jets. Or maybe you point to a late interception for Aaron Rodgers in the inability at the end for the Jets to be a good football team and win a game they had to have. Whatever you point to, the Buffalo Bills were victorious last night in East Rutherford, 23-20. The Bills win and cover as a slight 1.5 favorite on the road in MetLife. Buffalo now sits atop the AFC East with a 4-2 record, the only team in the division above 500. Joe, the Jets had to have this one. As Aaron Rodgers said after the game, it was a giveaway. The Jets fall to 2-4.
It was a giveaway because you flat out outplayed Buffalo there in the second half. But when you go 1 for 4 in the red zone and 4 of 12 on third down, and of all things, now you have a kicking problem with Zuerlein missing field goals from 32 and 43. Now have missed 4 field goals on the year, which I believe is now tied for the lead in the NFL in missed field goals. And we're not talking 58, 61-yard shots here. We're talking chip shots for a guy that has been one of the best over the last decade. Now they've got a kicking problem as well. So I don't believe you can blame Robert Saleh for this one, but hats off to maybe the greatest officiating crew we've ever seen, Ben. They missed nothing last night. Nothing. Unbelievable job by them.
Their arms probably sore this morning, Joe, from tossing that yellow flag out there like Aaron Rodgers on the Hail Mary for New York right before the halftime break. Again, vintage Aaron, his 4th Hail Mary. But really, outside of that, the Jets under new offensive play caller Todd Downing struggling in the red zone. Joe, I believe the referees were way too involved last night. You never want to see a zebra show in any important NFL game. I don't really think it particularly favored one side. I'm sure Bills fans would say, Ben, you're crazy. The Jets got all the home calls. I'm sure New York fans, after dropping this game, would say, are you kidding me? It was basically a Bills refereeing crew. It just was too much. But at the end of the day, Buffalo finds a way to win. What it means for both clubs, especially Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, the remainder of this season, that will be our discussion for the next 20 minutes after we give you all the headlines. The New York Mets, Joe, down 8-0 in the NLCS, respond early in Los Angeles. The Dodgers had a 33-inning scoreless streak against their opposition, blanking the opposing side. Francisco Lindor said, yeah, that was fun. A solo shot in the first at-bat of the game yesterday at the Ravine. Mark Vientos, a grand slam after Frankie was intentionally walked to load the bases in the second, and the Mets never looked back, evening the NLCS at a game all with a 7-3 victory in Game 2.
Yeah, and I guess Lindor was like, all right, 33 consecutive scoreless innings is enough here, people. And he just led the game off with a home run, and you just kind of had a feeling, all right, this is not going to be another one of these snooze fests here where this bullpen of the Dodgers is somehow going to hold another team hitless or scoreless, rather. So kudos to the Mets. They did exactly what they needed to do. Now home field advantage goes to them as they are knotted up at 1 apiece, and they still have edges in a lot of spots here. So this is, I think, a far from over. Just let's see the Dodgers represent the National League in the World Series.
Game 3 tomorrow in Flushing. It is a near pick'em on the money line. Walker Buehler gets the start for L.A. Luis Severino on the other side for New York. Speaking of playoff baseball, in the greater New York City area, up in the Bronx, Game 1 of the ALCS for the New York Yankees and the Cleveland Guardians. Carlos Rodon, an absolute gem. 6 innings of work, only allowing 1 earned run, striking out 9. Juan Soto, despite a cold and windy night at Yankee Stadium, a home run to get the offense started. And Giancarlo Stanton continues to deliver a solo shot as well to cap the night. The Yankees win 5-2 in Game 1.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I was a little worried when I saw Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce at the game. I almost went out the other way and bet out of the Yankees, but I'm glad I held on there. But first win since 2019, the American League Championship Series. I mean, kudos. That's why you spent $160 million for Rodon. It doesn't matter what he did during the regular season. The fact that he showed up the way he did last night. And how about the real MVP, Stanton, baby? Is Judge even playing? I haven't seen him. Is he available? What's going on with him?
Yeah, listen, a couple of walks last night, did score a run on a wild pitch, but you are correct. Giancarlo Stanton stepping up in this postseason for New York. NFL news as we get ready for a new week at the end of week 6. For the first time, Mike McDaniel confirms that Tua Tagovailoa, when he is eligible to return from the IR, will be back on the football field, a good sign.
Good luck with that. I mean, it's his choice, but let's see how that, hopefully, knock on wood, he'll be able to finish the season without another hit because, Ben, we're at the point now where it literally is one more and it's over. It's over.
Yep. You are correct. That is for sure. Nick Sirianni apologizing for his behavior in Philadelphia on Sunday. The least optimistic winning record team in the NFL. Elsewhere, Joe, AP top 25 in men's college basketball, the preseason poll. Kansas atop the AP poll for a second straight year entering the season.
Yeah, shocker. They are not, we could have come up with this list 3 months ago, and I could have told you exactly who the top 5 teams were going to be here. Not a shocker.
Alabama, number 2, the highest ever in the AP top 25, the 2-time reigning champs. UConn at number 3. Other rankings reactions later in our second hour. NBA preseason action. Scary moment in Philly. Paul George leaves the game with a hyperextended knee injury. His status for the start of the regular season in question. More for Monday night next. Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best 2 ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You can't sometimes look at the point spreads and just, understand what they mean. Because going into the game, you're looking at it, it's like, okay, Denver's playing better football. They won a couple in a row. Now they're going back home.
The Broncos have to turn around and play on a short week. Sean Payton is returning to New Orleans. The Saints just gave up almost 600 yards of offense to the Buccaneers. So it's going to be interesting kind of gut check.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
A monumental Monday Night Football game at MetLife in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Not only because of the impact the outcome of the score would have on divisional standings, on seeding already in the AFC, even after Week 6. Not just because the first third of the 2024 NFL regular season now officially in the books, but because of everything that had happened around this Jets organization in the last 7 days. The firing of head coach Robert Saleh only 5 weeks into his 4th year at the helm. The demotion of Nathaniel Hackett. The promotion of Todd Downing as the play caller in the first game under interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich. And, of course, all of the notoriety and focus on a 40-year-old quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, trying to lead the New York Jets to a playoff berth for the first time in 14 NFL seasons. And if you might be thinking to yourself, why are we talking the playoffs 6 weeks into the season? That was how critical Monday night was at MetLife. And at the end of the day, Joe, for a variety of reasons, and we'll break down every angle, the officiating and too much yellow laundry on the turf last night, the abhorrent field goal kicking on both sides from both Buffalo and New York. Whatever the reason is, ultimately, the box score will show and the standings will represent a Buffalo team that won to improve to 4-2 and occupy the top spot alone in the AFC East. 23-20, the win for the Bills on the road in East Rutherford, New Jersey. They cover as a 1.5-point road favorite against the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, man, I mean, Buffalo did exactly what they needed to do. They needed to go on the road, tough environment, and get the job done. And that's exactly what Josh Allen, and by the way, Davis was a huge factor in that game for Buffalo once we learned that Cook was out. He did a phenomenal job. He did everything they needed to do in order to be able to win on the road in a division, which is never an easy thing to do. In the meantime, the Jets in many aspects outplayed Buffalo across the board, especially in the second half. But, when you only go 1 of 4 in the red zone, you miss a couple of field goals, you go 4 of 12 on third down, and now you've got, on top of everything else, you apparently have a kicking problem. One that needs to be addressed. They keep saying Zuerlein is healthy. I don't see it. I don't think he's healthy. I think something is going on there. It's yet another one of these things the Jets are going to have to look at. And at this point, now a short week, they got to go to Pittsburgh for Sunday night. They don't have, these were games they needed to win. They gave one in Denver. They gave one to Buffalo. Their room for error now is pretty much slim to none the rest of the way.
Joe, they've given away, you could argue, all 3 of these losses in a row and dropped to 2 games sub 500 at 2-4. Greg Zuerlein, an issue in at least 2 of the 3 at home in MetLife against the Broncos, now 3 weekends ago. Last night for sure against the Buffalo Bills. The 36-year-old veteran Greg Zuerlein, who has the nickname Greg the Leg. It's always good when your field goal kicker has a nickname. And yet he has struggled. He is 8 of 12 this year. He was 2 for 4 last night. Some might question his accuracy. I would argue that. He can nail the left upright like it's nobody's business, double doinking it on 2 field goal attempts in that second half. Tyler Bass, though, for Buffalo, also missing a field goal, woefully missing an extra point. One of the worst extra point attempts you will ever see on a PAT. I mean, it was atrocious. It was a windy, cold night, swirling at the Meadowlands, as they talk about. It was bad field goal kicking. There was also a ton of penalties, 11 on each team. 22 total flags accepted in the game for more than 200 penalty yards. You can argue that it favored the Jets. You can argue that it favored the Bills. I think overall, Joe, it's just too much. Nobody wants to tune into a primetime game with a monumental impact to see the refs out there 22 times.
Now, I think this is the most penalty flags we've seen in any game so far this year through 6 weeks of the season here. It's just inexcusable on a Monday night to have that kind of non-flow, because every time they started, both sides really for that matter, every time they started to get the ball rolling and started to feel good and looked like they'd get into a little bit of rhythm, the game was just, everything was stopped, coming back. Not to mention, we had a couple of times where we had refs in an end zone, one calling incomplete, another one calling a touchdown. We got to wait for the call to come from the booth. Like they were a crew that was not on the same page from the get-go in that one. And it absolutely ruined the experience there for anybody watching that game last night because it took forever and it took everybody out of their rhythm. Both sides, though. It's not an excuse for the Jets because it was just as bad for Buffalo.
Well said, Joe. I think that is the overall assessment as well. You could argue the calls, but it really hampered both teams. The field goal kicking was bad. Tyler Bass did deliver the game winner under 4 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter from only 22 yards out. If he missed that one, it would have been a different story. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets did get the football back on their own 30, 3 minutes left or 3:50 left in the game. Another opportunity, like we saw against Denver, like we saw against Minnesota, like we saw last night at MetLife against Buffalo, to drive down the length of the field and just score to either win the game or force the extra session. A couple of penalties on New York, and the only interception and turnover of the game, Aaron Rodgers picked off by Taron Johnson on the final play right before the 2-minute warning. Looking for Mike Williams, who was also the intended target last week in London when Stephon Gilmore picked off Aaron Rodgers for Minnesota to end that game. Ultimately, Joe, with all of the attention on number 8 for the Jets, he was decent last night, 23 of 35, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Hail Mary right before the opening half came to a close, but will be remembered for that interception and the inability, once again, to deliver a magical moment when the Jets desperately needed it.
200-yard receivers, 100-yard rusher, and you lost. That cannot happen, man. That cannot happen.
And that really is the story, Joe. At the end of the day, it could not happen, and it did. We'll continue to dive through Monday night and what it means up next. Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best 2 ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You can't sometimes look at the point spreads and just, understand what they mean. Because going into the game, you're looking at it, it's like, okay, Denver's playing better football. They won a couple in a row. Now they're going back home.
The Broncos have to turn around and play on a short week. Sean Payton is returning to New Orleans. The Saints just gave up almost 600 yards of offense to the Buccaneers. So it's going to be interesting kind of gut check.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
However you sum last night up at MetLife on a monumental Monday to end out Week 6, the Buffalo Bills win 23-20. They cover as a 1.5 favorite on the road in East Rutherford. A total in the low 40s, closing at 41.5, does trickle over. Joe, Aaron Rodgers said after the game, he bemoaned the officiating, maybe he had a reason to do that. But he said ultimately the Jets gave this football game away. A game they could ill afford to give away. A game, frankly, they could not lose to fall 2 games below 500. With a win, Gang Green would have been in first place in the AFC East with a direct tiebreaker, even at 3-3 in front of Buffalo. And if you look at the box score and you look at the offensive production, things were pretty picture perfect last night for Aaron Rodgers and that Jets offense. 294 yards, 2 touchdowns. The interception that sealed the game. Both Allen Lazard and Garrett Wilson over 100 yards, both a touchdown reception. Lazard on that Hail Mary right before the end of the opening half. And welcome back Breece Hall and this Jets rushing attack that had been held to 64 yards or less in the 2 consecutive L's entering last night. Breece Hall, 18 carries, 113 yards, 5 grabs on 6 targets for 56 yards in the game. Joe, Todd Downing called a great game, except when it mattered most. Inside the red zone, New York was just 1 for 4, and it will be another squandered opportunity for the Jets that could, Joe, frankly, plague their season the rest of 2024.
Well, I mean, good news is Downing certainly looks like a clear upgrade from what they had from a play calling perspective. I mean, 393 yards, 113 on the ground by Breece Hall. I mean, you put up almost 400 yards of offense. Then, you know, if you're the Jets, you'll take that every week. A couple of 100-yard receivers, a 100-yard rusher. You'll take that every time. I mean, we didn't have anything even close to that through the first couple of games with Hackett calling. So they're on the right track with the right guy. The problem here is that they continue to shoot themselves in the foot. Don't forget, they were able.
It really is. And 3 times last night by Buffalo, A.J. Epinesa, a couple, and then an atrocious unnecessary roughness at the end of one late in the game. Yeah. 11 sacks for Aaron Rodgers in these 3 losses in a row. Breece Hall, 14-plus carries now in 4 of 6 games. He had 18 last night for 113 yards, well over 56.5. But, Joe, on the other side, Buffalo kind of the forgotten piece of last night just because of all the notoriety and attention on the Jets. The firing of Robert Saleh, the changes in the coaching staff, and, of course, all the drama that follows Aaron Rodgers, whether he likes it or not, and oftentimes causes it. But Buffalo, after dropping 2 straight games after a 3-0 start, gets back in the win column. And they did just enough, shorthanded and banged up offensively. Josh Allen's passing yards prop was 197.5. It was a must bet just based on principle. He didn't sky over. He did throw for 215 yards. But, Joe, in both losses for the Bills, Josh Allen's completion percentage in total, 42.4%. You see the efficiency last night. 19 of 24, 215 yards, 3 total touchdowns. A big win for Buffalo. The Bills bounce back. They're 4-2. They're the only team with a winning record now in the AFC East.
They had 3 timeouts, 1:52, the Jets. All they had to do was be able to stop Josh Allen and get the ball back for another shot at tying the game up or winning it. And what happens? Josh Allen, once again, makes a play when the game mattered the most to end it. And on the Jets side, they didn't have that play or that guy in this game, and that's why they lost.
It's a good point, Joe. Again, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets got the football back under 4 minutes remaining, down by a field goal. Costly penalties, a sack, and then an interception from Aaron Rodgers ends their chances. It's been the story of the year for the Jets, coming up short. What does it mean for the rest of the way? Next. Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best 2 ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line. only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You can't sometimes look at the point spreads and just understand what they mean, because going into the game, you're looking at it, it's like, okay, Denver's playing better football. They won a couple in a row. Now they're going back home.
The Broncos have to turn around and play on a short week. Sean Payton is returning to New Orleans. The Saints just gave up almost 600 yards of offense to the Buccaneers. So it's going to be interesting kind of gut check.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Buffalo Bills are 4-2 in first place in the AFC East, the only team in what we expected to perhaps be the best division in football entering this year with a winning record. The New York Jets are 2-4. Joe, we'll talk about the Jets for a good majority of this 10-minute segment. So let's start with Buffalo. Again, they started the year 3-0. They looked dreadful offensively in 2 consecutive losses, banged up on that side of the football, and were last night. Enter Ray Davis, the rookie out of Kentucky. What a huge night. Nearly 100 yards on the ground. Was Buffalo's leading receiver with 55 yards. At the end of the game, the Bills win in MetLife. A huge divisional contest. Buffalo is 4-2, 2-0 in the AFC East. They sit in first place in the division. They will look to win the divisional crown for a 5th consecutive year. And now greater than a $3 favorite at minus 340 to do so. Joe, overall this year, the question will not be the Bills being a double-digit win team, making the playoffs, heck, even winning the AFC East for a 5th season in a row. It will be a team built, as you can see there, pun very much intended, moving past the AFC divisional round into the AFC Championship and perhaps a Super Bowl appearance for the first time in 3 decades. Do you believe this Bills team, as currently constructed, is on a path to do that?
They got a lot of things to clear up here because, that was a ridiculous performance by them. Yes, it was good enough to beat the Jets, but let's face it, the Jets are terrible. Not to mention they had just fired their head coach during the week on a trip back from London. So not a good showing there. Ultimately, Josh Allen saved you when it mattered the most, which is why you have him. But the number of penalties, the allowing a Hail Mary touchdown at the end of the first half. Inexcusable here. Congratulations on the win. But as the competition gets better, and we noticed, man, this is, fortunate for the Bills, somebody's got to win this division, right? And looking at the other teams in the division right now, the Bills, well, you probably have won enough games already to run away with this. But that doesn't mean you're going to get by Baltimore. It doesn't mean you're going to get by New England. They got to get a lot better in a lot of other areas here, Ben, as the season moves on for me to consider them a contender in any way, shape, or form.
And, Joe, the Bills have moved back after their 3-0 start. They were neck and neck with Kansas City atop the AFC. Baltimore has won 4 straight games. They are 4-2, second best price for the Ravens, much like it looked like before the year got underway. Those top 2 teams from the odds perspective in the AFC. Then Buffalo at plus 490, only about a half buck behind the Houston Texans at plus 550. Then a dramatic drop-off in a conference that we expected to be the gauntlet. Now the NFC looks to be that side of the league. 17-1 is the 5th best price to win the AFC Championship. It's the 2-4 Cincinnati Bengals. But, Joe, we showed you the AFC East odds. Buffalo now a minus 340 favorite. Based on track record and pedigree in this division, all right, it makes sense. This Buffalo team, still with Josh Allen, has won the AFC East 4 straight seasons. But they weren't the favorites entering this year to win yet another AFC East crown. It was the odds optimism backing Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, who now, as you can see, second best price, but at 5-1. We're still not sure, even when Tua Tagovailoa is eligible to return, what it means for Miami. Third best number, and frankly, the Patriots are a 1-5 football team and look about as competitive as we expected, as we thought entering the year. We'll get to the Jets in just a second. So now, Joe, with the focus on New York, squandering yet another opportunity last night. The Jets have a win total updated of 7.5. The playoff price is plus 164. That was probably bare minimum, even after the change in the coaching room to fire Robert Saleh, to elevate Todd Downing. You had to snap the 13-year playoff drought, which made Monday night, yesterday in MetLife, that much more significant even in Week 6. For whatever reason, the Jets come up short. They are a losing football team that often finds ways to actively squander a lead and lose a golden opportunity. Joe, what is your outlook for the New York Jets? Just how big of a blow was the loss last night to Buffalo?
It's a huge blow. And I think, Josh Allen had said it afterward. It's a big difference sitting 4-2 up 2 games here and already have one against the Jets in the books, as opposed to sitting in second place 3-3 and being 0-1 against the Jets. It was a huge game for the future of the AFC East. And he said it right. Our goal is to make the playoffs, and the easiest way to do that is to win the division. It's a winnable division, and whoever won that game last night was going to have a leg up on doing just that. And unfortunately for the Jets, they had everything going in their direction: motivation, changes. They have Aaron Rodgers. They got everything they needed in order to win that game, except, one team was able to make enough plays to win it, which shows, to me, experience, and it shows that you have a quarterback that understands the situation. You got to win games during the season, Ben, that you're not at your best. You just win and you get the hell out. And that's what the Bills did, and the Jets are still looking for that win this year. And before you know it, the season could be over before they actually get one.
And we'll see, right? The Jets are a road favorite in the Steel City. Sunday Night Football again with eyeballs, attention, and notoriety in prime time again for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. It's a slight 1.5 spread in favor of New York, minus 118 on the money line against the Steelers team that is also a winning football team at 4-2. The Jets are 2-4. Joe, they have been an underdog since the start of the Robert Saleh era, which I guess is no longer continuing over in East Rutherford. Since the start of 2021, they have been an underdog, including last night, in 45 of 57 total potential games. In those 45, because last night was basically a money line bet. If you wanted to take a 1.5, you didn't cover there either. They are 13-32 straight up, including 0-3 straight up as an underdog this year. Also 0-3 against the spread as an underdog. They're 17-28 ATS as a dog in that span. They have not been a winning football team. Frankly, for most of the past 3.5 years, they have not been a competitive football team. And sure, Aaron Rodgers is there, and there's a lot of offensive talent, and the defense looks okay, but maybe not elite at this current juncture against a short-handed Bills team. Buffalo still was able to manage that football game. I just don't know where you look to the Jets right now and say, this is where I feel optimistic. Yeah, they've given up some opportunities they should have had. But this is why, when the year is done, at the end of 18 weeks, they're going to be a winning football team. I don't know how you find that right now with the New York Jets, and I'm not sure what that reason for hope could even potentially be.
Ben, I'm with you. I don't know where the Jets go from here. They have, and you had said it, this is a team that pretty much has given away in their last 3 losses, right? They've pretty much given away the games here. This team should be sitting, Ben, with at least 2 more wins. They should be 4-2 at worst in this particular spot, and we'd be having a totally different conversation. But we're not. And we're not because the Jets are not a consistent football team. And yet here we are heading into week 7. And we can't rely on all 3 facets of the game showing up in one game. And last night it was the defense took a step back. The offense took a step forward. Special teams disappeared. Can't have it, Ben, heading into week 7. You just can't trust them.
Truly, you cannot, Joe. I think that's a great assessment. March of 2023, Aaron Rodgers emerges out of the darkness and says he wants to play for the New York Jets. All of the drama that has followed in the last 20 months on or off the field has resulted in a team right now that is 2-4 in favor to miss the playoffs for a 14th consecutive year. Is it worth it? That will be a question for a later date. MLB playoff action next. Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best 2 ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You can't sometimes look at the point spreads and just, understand what they mean. Because going into the game, you're looking at it, it's like, okay, Denver's playing better football. They won a couple in a row. Now they're going back home.
The Broncos have to turn around and play on a short week. Sean Payton is returning to New Orleans. The Saints just gave up almost 600 yards of offense to the Buccaneers. So it's going to be interesting kind of gut check.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
A significant Monday night in the tri-state in New York sports. Some teams playing in the greater New York City tri-state area, some over in New Jersey, a team in Buffalo that also hails from the Empire State, a win over the New York Jets, and the 2 playoff teams in MLB also in action on Monday. One across the country in Los Angeles in Game 2 of the NLCS, the other in the Bronx in Game 1 of the American League Championship Series. We start in the NL. NLCS. In game number 2, after the Mets got routed in game 1 by the Dodgers, 9-zip. LA continues its scoreless streak of 33 straight innings, matching an MLB playoff record. One more inning, they set a new record by themselves. Francisco Lindor, to start off game number 2, had other ideas. The very first at-bat of the game, 8 pitches into it, he takes Ryan Brazier, the opener for LA, deep. The Mets never looked back. A Mark Vientos grand slam in the second. The Mets opened up the scoring, and they held on for a 7-3 win in Game 2 of the National League Championship Series in Los Angeles as a road underdog to even up the LCS at a game apiece.
Yeah, I mean, great record, great streak by the Dodger pitching staff to tie the 66 Orioles for the most consecutive postseason innings without giving up a run. But Lindor led that game off and was like, enough of this. And the Mets did exactly what they needed to do. I think they are a team that should play from in front. When they do play from in front, it's a little bit of a different situation. I mean, the Dodgers thought they got so much out of Flaherty in game 1 that this set up perfectly for a bullpen game for them. And, well, didn't work out all that well for them there. They gave up a lot of runs early. They did have opportunities to get back into it. So give Matone credit. Give, even though everything seems to be a sweat job when you-know-who shows up in the 9th inning there. But Manaea did exactly what he needed to do. He gave them 5 strong, kept them in the game, and he navigated around the top of that order, the meat and potatoes of that order. The Mets, to me, have the advantage here going to Citi Field tomorrow in a big way here. So we'll see if they can capitalize on it.
For sure. Joe, the question for the Dodgers entering this postseason, entering what should be a World Series run, is not the all-star offensive lineup that starts with Shohei Ohtani, then goes to Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Teoscar Hernandez and Max Muncy, who is healthy. The list goes on and on. It was the pitching. That felt like it was answered late in Game 3 of the NLDS against the Padres, Game 4, Game 5, and then Game 1 of the NLCS, because Dave Roberts, with the season at stake in Game 4 in San Diego, turns to Ryan Brazier as the opener, uses 8 arms in a bullpen game, and they blanked and shut out the Padres. Did not work yesterday. The young guy, Landon Knack, comes in after Brazier. He gets hammered as well. Brent Honeywell did keep this Dodgers team in it with what great Lechuga and flow he has. And Joe, you mentioned it. In the 6th inning, the Dodgers had the bases loaded multiple times. First up, Tommy Edman, a 2 RBI single that made it 6-3 with only 1 out. Max Muncy gets a free pass. Kike Hernandez, who was the hero against the Padres in spots, and of course likes to share his potty mouth in the NLDS, comes up with the bases juiced and only 1 out. Grounds into a double play to end the inning, and the Mets hold on from there. Edwin Diaz gets the save as well. So the New York Mets continue to defy the odds. A hefty underdog, despite Sean Manaea probably having the pitching advantage, and he was solid. 5 innings of work, only 2 earned given up against this very potent Dodgers offensive lineup. And Joe, entering the game, not only was LA a favorite in Game 2, as you would expect at home in downtown Los Angeles, they were greater than a $3 favorite to win the NLCS, to win the NL pennant, to get back to a World Series for the 4th time in the last 12 years. Now it's just minus 156. And you'll check the odds for tomorrow's Game 3 back in Flushing at Citi Field, and you'll see the Dodgers with Walker Buehler as a very slight road favorite. It's a virtual pick'em at this moment. Minus 112 in favor of the Dodgers, minus 104 on the other side for the Amazons. But if I'm trusting a starter tomorrow, it's New York's Luis Severino. It's not the Dodgers' Walker Buehler.
No, it's not. And, here we go again with the Dodgers trying to navigate and give I don't envy Dave Roberts and the decisions he's going to have to make to try to navigate through this series. And then if he's lucky to do that, get to a World Series. I mean, what arms are you going to use to throw out if you can't get Buehler past, I don't know, let's say the 3rd inning here, Ben? I mean, they didn't have any of his He didn't use any of his high leverage guys yesterday to try to keep the score down. They went with Landon Knack, and then, of course, that, the wheels fell off early and often. I mean, that was a huge opportunity for the Dodgers. Didn't feel like he was managing with urgency to go up 2-0 and then figure it out from there. It was like, well, we'll get through this game and whatever happens, happens. Okay, but any which way you cut it, the duct tape and Elmer's glue holding on slightly here with this rotation, Ben. Slightly.
Yeah, certainly so, Joe. Certainly so. Walker Buehler did start Game 3 in San Diego. The Padres played at 6 in the second against him. The good news is he stayed in the game for 3 more scoreless innings. You really do feel bad for Walker Buehler, and I don't mean to throw him a pity party here, but this is a guy that was one of the promising young arms for L.A., looked at as the ace of the staff to take the shoes for Clayton Kershaw when he retired and stepped away. By the way, he intends to play again in 2025 for year number 18. Regardless, for Walker Buehler, Tommy John missed the better part of the last 2 years, returned this year in June for L.A., then was on the IL for a little bit more time. Was 1-5 this year, Joe, with a 5.63 ERA in the regular season. It is difficult and gave up 6 earned in his first playoff start against the Padres. Joe, Shohei Ohtani is going to win NL MVP. If he wasn't alive, Francisco Lindor would have won the NL MVP. Maybe Lindor, based on the performance, can catch him in the NLCS. Of course, if the Mets do win the pennant. Now to the other New York team up in the Bronx. Game 1 of the ALCS next. Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best 2 ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You can't sometimes look at the point spreads and just, understand what they mean. Because going into the game, you're looking at it, it's like, okay, Denver's playing better football. They won a couple in a row. Now they're going back home.
The Broncos have to turn around and play on a short week. Sean Payton is returning to New Orleans. The Saints just gave up almost 600 yards of offense to the Buccaneers. So it's going to be interesting kind of gut check.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
So the Buffalo Bills beat the New York Jets on a monumental Monday in New York sports. The Mets even up NLCS in game number 2 with a win in Los Angeles. The Yankees up in the Bronx, debuting in game number 1 of the American League Championship Series against the Cleveland Guardians. The Yanks greater than a $2 favorite at home inside Yankee Stadium with Carlos Rodon on the bump against Alex Cobb, who had not pitched often for Cleveland throughout the year, dealing with injuries, but got the start for the Guardians in the opening game of the LCS. Rodon was sensational. Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton deliver, and the New York Yankees have a 1-0 series advantage in the American League Championship Series, 3 wins away from their first pennant since 2009. 5-2 the win for New York last night at home up in the Bronx.
Yeah, and I think it all started with the Yankees making the decision to go with Rodon over Clark Schmidt, even knowing that the Guardians were one of the best hitting teams this year against left-handed pitching and don't strike out a ton. And Rodon had a very obviously not a great start against the Royals there. But my goodness, that is exactly why they went out and got him. The version that you saw last night was the version that the Yankees were hoping when they wrote him a $160 million plus check. They were hoping that was who would show up. And when you consider that he went 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, just gave up a solo home run, but he struck out 9 Guardians. The Guardians are not a strikeout team, and they crush lefties. He destroyed them last night, and now they've got to go up against Cole and a bullpen here that's got pretty much every option available to him. That was a big win, but more importantly, a huge start by Rodon in that game last night.
Yeah, Joe, it certainly was. 6 innings of work, only 3 base knocks, the home run in the 6th to Brian Rocchio, but outside of that, striking out 9. Rodon talked about channeling the inner cyber robot that is Garrett Cole, who will start game 2. He put that on display on the bump last night. And when you're looking for offense for this Yankees team that at times has struggled to muster that up in this postseason, you got it last night from the guys that need to deliver. A big 3rd inning for New York. They scored 3 runs. Juan Soto hit a home run, a solo shot on a windy and cold night up in the Bronx to get it over the wall. And then you see Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton both scoring on wild pitches. Joey Cantillo, the youngster from Honolulu, out there for Cleveland. Maybe the playoff atmosphere causing some nerves. Aaron Judge did have a sac fly RBI in the 4th to continue the lead for the Yankees. But then Giancarlo Stanton, Joe, who has really been the one registering the RBIs and bringing that offense along for the Bombers throughout this postseason. Another RBI to extend it with a home run at 5-1 in the 7th inning. And Luke Weaver, in all 4 wins for the Yankees throughout this postseason, has delivered the save for the Pinstripes as well. A really strong start for this Yankees team, now just 3 wins away from the American League pennant. And, Joe, they won 4 of 6 against Cleveland throughout the regular season. The Yankees were 24-7 against the American League Central in the regular season. Of course, they take 3 of 4 against Kansas City. They're looking pretty good with a favorable path. There is that pressure, but the Yankees certainly on a track to get back to the World Series for the first time since 2009.
Yeah, I mean, and it all started last night with a big performance and getting it done. And keep in mind, they still haven't really gotten Aaron Judge out of this slump here. You know, at some point, he is going to win a game or 2 by himself. And you've got to be cognizant of that. In the meantime, you know, give kudos to Stanton and give kudos to Juan Soto. And if you are Cobb, Alex Cobb, do me a favor. Do not pitch to Juan Soto anymore. Like, take your chances with Judge because the man owns you, absolutely owns you. I'm wondering if he gets another start, how many pitches they'll actually throw towards Juan Soto.
Yeah, I don't know, Joe. Juan Soto now the ALCS MVP favorite because of what he did in the solo shot last night. Aaron Judge technically 0 for at the dish, 0 for 2, but did record a walk and an RBI on the sac fly. Accounted for 2 of the 5 Yankees runs with that RBI and a run scored in the 3rd. Joey Cantillo did not get an earned run. It was all Alex Cobb, who has dropped both of his starts here in the postseason. Garrett Cole and Tanner Bybee for game 2 today inside Yankee Stadium. The Pinstripes a hefty favorite. Hour 2 on the other side of the break.